Yeah, Wednesday. What's up, everybody? Wednesday morning. Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Market Commentary. I'm your host, Chuck Fulkerson. Hope everybody had a great Monday and an even better Tuesday as we are seeing a little bit of market pullback. And usually in a bull market, pullback means opportunity. So we're going to look into see if we have some of those opportunities today in our big picture markets. We're going to do what we do every day, look at our 4 big picture markets, and then take a look at our stock of the day. Today, I'm going to look at a couple of different stocks because I want to review some of the big movers that we've talked about in the last few weeks, and then also give you a potential stock idea based upon our recent pullback. But we're going to go ahead and get started with the big picture. So starting with the big picture in the S&P specifically, we can see that the S&P, we're up about 1 point this morning in pre-market trading, but we definitely are experiencing a bit of a pullback. Now, in speaking in terms of a pullback, we had an area here that we said, theoretically could be a breakdown point if we get below that level. We just didn't get enough basing in order to make that level valid. And unfortunately, we came really close to our area of demand that would have given us a pretty strong entry. And we actually got a really nice move off of that level. But by getting close to that level, it changes the level and it turns it to a confirmation style entry. Anytime we get close to a level but don't get in, it switches the entry to a confirmation entry. And you notice the next time we came in, we popped right through it. Now, if you did get into the position, you got about a 1-to-1 reward to risk before it booted you right through. And so this is why we follow the rules. And the confirmation entry told us not to get into that position. So what am I looking at for today? Well, I think you got another opportunity for a breakdown here below 41.11. When I look at this on a daily chart, this is just a nice, healthy pullback, right? I mean, if we think about this little pullback that we've had here over the last few days, this is a nice little pullback, giving us a possibility for a new entry. I'm going to throw my volume on there. And when I just take a look at volume, one of the things that is a little bit concerning is the fact that our last 2 days were on higher volume. And so when you've got 2 days that are on higher volume, and they're pullback days, that is a little bit concerning in that it's more of a bearish volume signature, that we were in below average volume the whole way up and then slightly back to average volume on the way back down, but not a big spike in volume, right? Not a huge spike in volume. I think had we seen a huge spike in volume, we would have seen a greater magnitude of a pullback. And so as I look at this from a daily chart perspective, and I'm not going to leave this box on the chart, but when I look at this from a daily chart perspective, this is ultimately my best point for a bit of a pullback, a bit of an area. 39.75-ish is really the best level. Now, I say that because it was an old area of resistance that can act as a new level of support. I don't know that we're going to get that deep into the pullback. When I look at it, if we even go back into 40.66, that's going to be a pretty decent area. So I think that would be your first stopping point. Now, I'm going to the bigger picture in order to kind of get out of the minutia, knowing that, let me get rid of this volume, knowing that, as we are rallying a bit higher, we very well could continue to move up from here. And so I'm looking at a potential breakdown below this area in here. And on my 4-hour chart, I'm still, I got technically a lower low and a lower high here. So I could take a short entry on a smaller time frame if it presents itself. And we do have a little level there from yesterday's market open. So a bit more aggressive of an entry because you are kind of going counter trend. But you do have this level right in here as a potential counter trend short opportunity. Next, let's go look at the Nasdaq. So in the Nasdaq, same kind of picture. We talked about the fact that we had a potential breakdown line here, breakout above here. We did wind up getting a bit of a breakdown. Got a little retest off of this area for a quick 2-to-1, as you can see, but because of this red candle here, followed by this area right up here. So it did give you a little quick 2-to-1, but then failed right away. And so on the 4-hour for the Nasdaq, it's actually that slowing of momentum kind of played out to now this one's giving me a little bit more bearish setup than the S&P. And so With that being said, certainly there's potential for a breakdown below here, but we're going to look at on the 15-minute a bit of a reversal point, and it's basically the same spot as the S&P's level was, which is this area up here. So both levels valid for reversals if price returns back into those areas. Now, I don't know that those levels, by the way, are going to hold, and keep an eye out for basing in front of those levels because my much bigger picture is still that we're going to continue to head a bit higher. Shifting gears a bit, let's talk about crude oil. Looking at crude oil, we see that crude oil on a daily chart, we are very sideways, still kind of chopping around. Did get a little pop higher, and now have sold off of that little level after this pop up a bit higher. We had this area of demand, which that area of demand made a decent entry. We got about a 3-to-1 move away from there. We're retesting it a second time, so certainly it's got to go away. We've got another level down here, but I don't like the fact that we've come close to that level, so it needs to switch to a confirmation entry on that lower level. Now, in looking at this breakdown line was really a nice trade, and this is a good picture of old support oftentimes becomes new resistance. Now, we didn't get a true breakout entry, but the resistance still very much held, and we've been trading down from there at this point anyway. I am going to take a look. We had this level here where there was a nice sell-off off of that zone. I am going to take a look at adding this line right in here. That's a very, very clean level that I like. Now, it's going to be counter trend, so certainly it'll be confirmation, but those would be the areas that make the most sense in crude oil. And then last is gold. Gold, we did come into our demand level, got a pretty nice move away from that demand level. So at this point, I'm going to remove that area since we traded all the way to the bottom. And that now creates a potential breakdown if price gives me basing in front of this area. We're looking at this on the daily chart. I had said that I felt like after this period of consolidation that we would see a bit of a rally higher, and that's kind of what we've been doing. So I know a lot of people have been swing trading gold and been in these long and been in this position for a bit longer term. If you're in that position, keep it up as we've got a supply level up above us, but that supply level up above us, we came close to it without getting in. So I'm going to remove it at this point. I think it's better to remove those kind of levels. But I don't really see a lot of great reversal trades that are close to current price at this point. Nothing really sticks out and says, ooh, I got to trade it, so I'm going to hold off. So those are kind of my big picture markets for the day. Now let's change gears here a little bit and let's talk about our stock of the day. Specifically, we're going to talk about some of the big movers that we've had very recently. So let's talk about a couple of the big movers that we've talked about recently, and the first one being Coinbase. We just talked about Coinbase a couple of days ago when we talked about trading an IPO, and I probably got 5 or 6 people the first day that it came out saying, hey, should I trade Coinbase? Should I trade Coinbase? And I always want to wait for supply and demand to form, right? So when I look at this on an hourly chart, I mean, I don't have really the ability to form a price pattern as of yet, but even without forming a price pattern as a true price pattern as of yet, we can see that it actually is putting a little bit of a descending triangle pattern in place. Now, I'm not saying that I would trade the breakdown on here. I still want to see price, give me a little bit more history, but there is a potential for those of you that are willing to be a bit more aggressive to trade a breakdown out of that level. Another one that we spoke about a while ago was Discovery Communications. Discovery Communications had this parabolic move up and then absolutely collapsed in a day. Well, since then, we rallied a little bit back up, and a lot of people said, okay, well, it's time to be a good buy because we have come down so far. And you got a little bit of hope, but not really. Your better area of demand doesn't come into play until down around here, around 31. And even that, is suspect because of our bigger picture trend direction. The other one was Viacom. Viacom also very similar picture. Now, Viacom is close to its area of demand, but note we're basing in front of the level. So basing in front of the level makes it a bit weaker, a bit less probable in the fact that we are basing here in front of the zone. So my point behind this is just this. sometimes volatility is going to be like a flashbang. You're going to get a gigantic move, and then things are going to kind of stable out. And we don't want to overreact to those moves. We want to trade things that are going to give us a little bit more predictable trend following behavior when possible. So, speaking of predictable trend following behavior, one stock that I want to take a look at for today is Facebook. Now, in looking at Facebook, you can see that we have a move up and a rest, a move up and a rest. Now, this rest is slightly bigger. So we can see is that this rest and this rest. The second one up here at the top is bigger than the first one. And so how did we find this as a potential opportunity? Well, how this was found as a potential opportunity is the fact that I use a scan taking a look at our three major moving averages: the 8, the 20, and the 50, the 20, and the 200. And I like to look for stocks that have stacked moving averages: the 20, and then the 50, and then the 200, all stacked one on top of each other. The 20 here in blue, the 50 in green, and the 200 in purple. And so they're stacked. And stocks that have pulled below the 20 but are still above the 50. Now, by the way, I don't use the moving averages to make my trade decisions. However, they are good filters to find potential opportunities. Now, the downside is we have earnings coming up here in about a week, and so it's a little bit less probable. But we have a doji candle on a decent pullback in an area where we could see a reversal. So if I get a candle with a higher high today, then that's going to make me very interested in potentially getting long. The other side is to be a bit more patient and wait for price to come into this region right here. Right there at about 291 by 285, you've got a decent little potential reversal point that was an old area of resistance. So if you're more aggressive, get long above today's high. If you want to be a little bit less aggressive, wait for price to come into here. But either way, what I would do is I would take a look at an options trade as a potential because options are going to allow me to engage the stock with a slightly lower quality or slightly lower risk because I don't have as much capital on the line. Now, I will say this: don't engage options unless you understand how options work. But that's what I would take a look at for Facebook today. But that's all I have for today, everybody. We will not have a video the rest of the week. I'm actually taking a couple of days off. So I hope you guys have a great, great week. And for those of you that are Traders Army members, I will see you Sunday night in our live trade room. If you're not a Traders Army member, why not? Go to tradersarmy.com today. Join up. Promo code TRADER60. Get 60% off your first month. Till next time, talk to you soon. See ya. Hey, thanks for joining us. If you like what we do, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's the only way the computers know that you're actually alive and really care. And go to tradersarmy.com today to learn a bit more. And if you want to see some of our other videos, click here in the box.